From the Foundation Studio right here on Biloxi's Back Bay, welcome to SuperTalk Outdoors, where as you know by now, we celebrate Mississippi's outdoors every single Monday at lunchtime. This is the capital of the outdoors in America, and I say that every single week here on SuperTalk Outdoors. I want to thank you for joining us on the powerful SuperTalk Mississippi Radio Network or on SuperTalk TV at C-Spire TV. But if you're listening on Facebook or YouTube or your favorite podcast, it's July the 18th, 2022. I won't say how fast this year is going by, but I just said it. It's amazing how fast time is flying by. Hey, I mentioned every week that the Foundation is a major sponsor of SuperTalk Outdoors. Its official name is the Foundation for Mississippi Wildlife Fisheries and Parks. It's not to be confused with the Mississippi Department for Wildlife Fisheries and Parks. The Foundation was actually formed many years ago to help the department with its conservation efforts. So it raises a lot of money, a ton of money over the years, to help the department fill gaps in areas where they can help. It might be outdoor education, it might be youth programs. There's so many different ways that the foundation has helped the department. They've also actually done other conservation efforts outside the departments over the years. And as you may remember last year, they were super engaged in an issue, the Conservation Trust Fund, that we talked about a lot here on this show. Just they were the driving force behind the Conservation Trust Fund. The trust fund, by the way, is making really good progress. We're going to be talking more about it in the coming weeks because the governor and lieutenant governor are in the process of making appointments to the board of trustees that will oversee the funds. They're actually moving along quite well, and so far so good with that efforts. They're doing a really, really good job with the apartments. The group has to be smart, successful, conservation-oriented people who are there to help us make sure that we come out of the box on this thing. I mean, really hitting the ground running. We've got to maximize not only the conservation impact, but the amount of federal dollars that's going to be spent. There's so many federal matching funds available to us, and we're going to be, now that we have this fund, we're going to be able to go get those dollars. I'm super excited about it. It's something I've talked a lot about here on SuperTalk Outdoors and on my show, Coast View, here on the coast. It's going to really be a game changer for Mississippi's conservation efforts, and we are really, really lucky to have the foundation and its incredible board of volunteer leaders focused on issues like that. And in the future, I'm sure they'll be focused on other issues. They're going to be picky about the issues they get onto, but if they get on an issue, you better join with them if you enjoy conservation, because they're a force to be reckoned with. That is for sure. Hey, the fishing here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast is really incredible right now. We've had long stretches of just moderate amounts of rain, which is normal for the summer, compared to last year where it rained almost the entire summer. Offshore and backwater fishing here is the best it's been in a pretty good long time. You may remember that a couple of weeks ago I had my friend Terry Waldrop on, and he gave me a report. He went out about a week or so ago, and the red minnows this time of year get all bunched up off the barrier islands, and you see jacks and redfish and sharks and occasionally you see tarpon. And he said that the number of tarpon that he saw was the most he had ever seen. And look, Terry and I have been fishing off the coast of Mississippi for more than 40 years. Many of them in the around 200-pound range. Think about that. Tarpon fishery has really come back off coast of Mississippi. When you think of Mississippi, you don't think of tarpon, but they're there, and it was just a great, really, really good report. My son Jordan, who I refer to as the fish whisperer, caught a triple tail yesterday with his friend John McMahon. There was nearly 15 pounds. It was his personal best. They released some. They released some cobia as well. Caught some mangrove. They had a really good trip, and it was a low impact trip. You don't have to go far offshore to have some really good fishing this time of year. Although, it's not unusual for us to do 200 miles in one day. And we cover a lot of ground and see some amazing fish. I like to find weed lines and that have a bunch of riffraff and other stuff in them, so we can catch some mahi. To me, that's a lot of fun. Find a good weed line, you can get some cobia and triple tail and dolphin all on the same, all on the same deal. And on a calm day, you can just kill the motors on the boat and just float with it and it can be so much fun. I like low-key trips like that. That's a lot of fun. Hey, today we're going to spend the entire hour with my friends Jordan Blissett and Lake Pickle. You know them from the Primos hunting team. They're going to be sharing the latest in their worlds these days, and we're just going to talk about Mississippi's outdoors. So without any further ado, let's shift over to my friends Lake and Jordan. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Yeah, after all that talk about triple tail and redfish and mahi, I don't really want to talk much about hunting, but I suppose you can.
I know you guys like to fish, and I've mentioned to both of you that I'll have you both down, and we'll take you out and let you experience some of what I just mentioned. But we are so lucky to live where we live, and I say this. I may have said it when we visited before. A few months ago, but this is the capital outdoors. I mean, you might find elk hunting this better, you might find this better over there, but when you add it all up and you add it with what we have along the Mississippi Gulf Coast with redfish and specks and other species of fish in the backwaters and offshore, I mean, my goodness, the offshore fishing off of Mississippi is just incredible. This is the capital outdoors, isn't it, Jordan?
It is. I was supposed to go fishing last week, and that little depression that was set in kind of skewed that off. But cool little story about going down towards where you live at. Me and my wife and my little girl, Brian, since we couldn't go fishing, we ended up going to the Gulfport Aquarium, and first time there, and that was a pretty good experience. That's a nice setup.
Yeah, I had the aquarium folks on the show, on my Coach View show last week. For a matter of fact, the Mississippi Aquarium is a jewel, and they're in the process now of, as you saw when you were there, building the walkover over Highway 90 that will take you into Jones Park. But when you stand on that campus and look out over the Gulfport Harbor and the Gulf, man, that's a special view, isn't it, buddy?
It was cool. I enjoyed it. Didn't really realize it was going to be that nice, honestly, when we went. So it was a good experience, and got to eat at Felix's, I think is what it's called. And
yeah,
day trip down there, and it was fun.
That is super cool. Listen, we're going to get the latest in your lives. You guys continue to do well professionally, and it's exciting to watch you evolve. It happens a lot with the Primos team. You get these guys that come through, young guys like you, and you sort of find your career footing underneath you, and you go on to do some amazing things in your lives. But I look forward to getting the latest there, and then we're just going to talk about the outdoors. Hey, before we get too far, coming back to you, Lake. We are lucky to live in this amazing state, aren't we, buddy?
Very much so. You talk about, hearing you talk about it, we kind of, I guess it's the fact that we live here and we're just surrounded by it all the time. You can almost somewhat take it for granted or lose the sense of what all we have at our fingertips. But I mean, yeah, man, from freshwater fishing to what you're talking about to turkeys and deer and waterfowl, got everything.
We really do, and it means a lot coming from you guys, because you've had the opportunity to hunt and fish all over the world, and particularly all over the United States. So when I say we're the capital of outdoors in America, there's a firm foundation to make such a claim, because you've been all over the place. Hey, before we get too far, Jordan, I want to come back over to you. You and I were chatting a little bit before the show started. One of the things that I've enjoyed watching about you is that you have, first of all, you've lost a lot of weight, and you've gone through this personal commitment to being healthy. And I want to commend you for that. And it's been an inspiration for a lot of people. You've and it's very interesting to watch you on social media, because you've been willing to put it out there, and the trials and tribulations of staying focused on your healthy lifestyle. But it's been a hell of a journey, but it's been 2 years. A lot of people, they'll have this flash in the pan, lose a lot of weight, then gain it all back. But you've really done real well in that area, haven't you?
Yeah, it's been, I wouldn't say it's been just a smooth sail all the way through. I've had my bad days, good days. That just happens in life. But, yeah, it's been 2 years this month since I decided to make this change, and health-wise, it's been the best decision I've ever made in my entire life. And the most humbling part of it is doing a commitment and putting it out there and seeing the amount of people that's been impacted by it in a positive way. it's truly pretty humbling just seeing the amount of people that's been impacted. One of the biggest things with me is my dad. He struggled with his weight just like I was, just bad habits. They kind of get bred into you in Mississippi, and far as eating goes. And he actually finally made the commitment in his mind, like I might can do this too. And he got started about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and is on his way down too, and he's so excited every day hearing him call me and tell me, "Hey, I done lost 2 more pounds." That's a big deal. So I can see the change in him. That's the most gratifying part of it, honestly, is just seeing the amount of people that I've been able to help.
That's really all. I mentioned to you that since my father passed away in 1979 and 1980, I went on this mission. And when people ask me today, why do I still walk 40, 50 miles a week and work out weights and do all the things I do it because I have 2 sons that love the outdoors, and I wouldn't be able to enjoy the outdoors the way that I enjoy the outdoors if I wasn't in shape. So thanks for your inspiration. It's certainly an inspiration to me as well. Hey, when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Jordan Blissett.
Leading the conversation on Mississippi's outdoors. It's Super Talk Outdoors with Ricky Matthews on Super Talk Mississippi.
Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. We are joined today by my friends Jordan Blissett and Lake Pickle. You know them from the Primos Hunting team. You probably know them from their podcast too. They have a great podcast that you can actually go listen to. I mean, I can't imagine the amount of content you guys have added up over the years. It's been amazing watching that evolve. I had a history. My career was in newspapers and then digital media. After that, I had the opportunity to retire in 2016. But I saw a lot of change in the industry over the years. And what I came to appreciate about where podcasts were taking the hunting industry and just about every other segment of society is, giving people choices to be able to enjoy being part of whatever the discussion is. And I want to commend you guys. You guys, what I've noted over the years, and certainly over the past year, is you guys kind of, you found your stride. You're both really good storytellers to begin with, and I think people like that. One of the things about podcasts, even this show, for example, is that you can't fake it, man. You cannot fake it. If you fake it, people will figure it out so fast it'll make your head spin. Authenticity is what makes it work. But you guys have made a great team, haven't you, Lake?
It was kind of one of the things that we didn't really plan it, and I guess it's probably best that way, because if some of the things about the way the podcast turned out, if we would have tried to plan it, it wouldn't have happened as organically as it did. But it was just like going to like the storytelling things, and when you do a podcast, I don't think the podcast is such long form conversation like you and I are doing right now. You can only, if you are fake, it's like you can only keep that up for so long, because you can't, it would be exhausting to try to put something on. So I remember one of the funniest, our biggest reactions we got, and this was earlier on, but we were just doing a podcast about somehow we ended up telling stories about hunting when we were young, some of our earliest hunting memories before we could drive or anything like that. And Jordan just comes out with this story about him and a childhood buddy getting in an argument at deer camp. They end up wrestling, and the kid bites Jordan in the chest or something. And I don't know this story. Didn't pre-screen it, so it's telling me this story, and I just go to cackling, laughing. I'm like, what? It was just stuff like that people tend to cling to. We had another story where we're talking about we were driving from Kansas to Pennsylvania, and we stopped at a Red Lobster because it was the only thing open, and we ended up with these Red Lobster biscuits, and Jordan shoved a bunch of them. This is pre-weight loss, Jordan, by the way.
Right.
A bunch of these biscuits into a napkin, and I found him eating them the next day as we were driving, and so we started saying Red Lobster biscuits. We just started saying RLB, and people started sending us messages, or they would post a picture and they would tag us and they would hashtag RLB. It just stuff like that you didn't plan on, just kind of became a thing, and it made it fun.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons I enjoy long form radio like we're doing today. The opportunity to just speak from the heart and from the soul about our love of the outdoors. And to be honest with you, man, I think back at some of the funnest times I've had at deer camp, and this is every year. It's the darndest things will make you fall into on the floor, can't catch your breath type of laughing. I mean, it's fun. I mean, we don't have a lot of conflict. We just have a lot of laughing, and that's what makes the world go around. And I think that's one of the reasons people enjoy this show is that you never know where the show is going to take you. You just never know. Jordan, you've had some fun experiences doing that show, haven't you?
Man, yeah, we've had a blast, and Lake came to when we were hunting cottonmouth like 6 years ago. He's like, "I'm gonna start a podcast." I was like, "What?" I didn't know what it was, and honestly, I didn't want anything to do with it because I was like, I just whatever. I was like, I don't know what he's wanting to do, but after 3 or 4 episodes, I realized, hey, this gonna be pretty fun, and took a while to get off the ground, but it's been a real fun experience for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. And what I like about the podcast platform is it gives you the opportunity to touch a lot of people you would not have otherwise touched. And once people get hooked, they want to get more. And again, you guys have done a great job with your storytelling over the years. That's for sure. You're coming out of this is kind of a lull in the action for you from your Primos work. But looking back on last year, it was a lot of fun for you guys, wasn't it, Blake?
Yeah. The year had, I mean, just like any other year, there was a lot of different aspects to it. Kudzu Bluff we saw, I would say, dramatic improvements from the first year we were there. And it just kind of something that happens organically. You don't just figure out a property real quick. It takes time. And so that was encouraging. Turkey season went well. It was a long season. It was a different season here in Mississippi, but it ended up on the right end of things. So yeah, when you kind of, I guess the way we look at it elk season, deer season, what waterfowl hunting we can do, and then turkey season. If you kind of put all that in one year, it was it all has its ups and downs as they always do, but it was a fun year for sure, as always.
Kudzu Bluff, for people who watch the show know about Kudzu Bluff right there on the edge of the Delta near Shula. Yeah, because we actually I lease a farm in Shula as well, and you're right. It takes time. And you know what? It's almost unfair to go into a place like Kudzu Bluff or any other place after you've hunted cottonmouth the way you guys have hunted cottonmouth over the years. But what I've come to understand, and what my experience has been in the farms that I've leased has been that it does take time. And someone hunted it before you, they had different standards. You guys are bringing cottonmouth standards to Kudzu Bluff, and in 2 or 3 years you can literally change the entire landscape as it relates to the kind of mature deer you see. And it's exciting after 1 year to see what you guys experience, isn't it, Jordan?
It is. Well, that first year, man, it was a struggle trying to figure out. I think we talked about this last time we were on here, the wind currents and the hills and all that kind of stuff. It's a double-edged sword trying to hunt the hills, but it was pretty crazy. We learned so much the first year for our food plot strategies, deer stands, where they should be placed, how to hunt them, and all this kind of stuff, where last year we had those mental notes and actually took real notes down the first year, like what we needed to change to the year after, and man, it made a huge difference. It was like night and day for the first 2 months of season.
Well, in a way, I think it actually, first of all, it teaches you more. You learn a lot more when you have to go to a new place. You can get spoiled hunting at somewhere like Cottonmouth and some of the other places that you guys have been to. And what you were experiencing was more the real life experience of most hunters. Most hunters are having to go work with the thermals and all that as it relates to the hills. And most hunters are having to go, find new ground and figure it out. They're doing public land, and they're having to go deep into public land to find where their little killer situation is going to be. So it made you better hunters, didn't it, Lake, at the end of the day?
It made me a better hunter. It made me, in kind of what you mentioned earlier, whether you realize it or not, us hunting at cottonmouth pretty much exclusively for 6 seasons or 7 seasons, some one of those, more or less, you, without realizing, you kind of get yourself into a rut because you hunt a place exclusively that long. You don't. I'm not saying we knew everything. Like, we still made mistakes at Cottonmouth, sure, but we could fall into a rhythm at Cottonmouth so quickly. You know, we just kind of knew what was going on. Where all of a sudden you shoved into a place like Kudzu Bluff, like, okay, I got to dig myself out of here. You got to start over and start figuring some things that you already knew. You got to freshen yourself up on some things that you're not relative to at all. Like hunting, I've deer hunted in places with topography, but not in this state, you know, not in the hills like that. So that was new. That was something to kind of wrap our heads around. And to make no bones about it, like just like what you said, it's definitely more along the lines of reality for what the average deer hunter in this state faces. And to look at it that way, it was like, okay, this is a good thing. You know, it's a more relatable story.
Well, we're going on our 6th year of having leased land in the Mississippi Delta. And if you'd have told me when we started that we would have 160-inch deer on camera, and this past year we killed 2 deer that were near 150 inches. I mean, 148-ish and some change. A beautiful, awesome, mature deer. If you'd have told me when we first started we'd see deer like that, I would have said there's no way. But because there's a lot of competition. And as I've learned on this show, you've got resident deer that are pretty much going to stay close by. You've got some that are going to visit the agricultural land that's near us and then wander back with, you know, some maybe a mile away, and some will go a long way away. You may see them at the beginning of the season. You're not going to see them again. Maybe during rut they'll come back depending on how that situation goes. But the learning process for me has been incredible, and I feel like we have a better feel for it. But as you point out, you never really completely figure it out, because as new deer arrive, you got to try to figure that guy out, and it's not always easy. That is for sure. Hey, listen, when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Lake Pickle and Jordan Blissett. We'll see you after this break.
Drive safely.
Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. I have my friends Jordan Blissett and Lake Pickle with me, and we're just talking about our love of the outdoors. And during the break, my son Jordan sent me a picture of the blackfish or triple tail that he caught yesterday for the YouTube and Facebook audience. For the radio audience, it's a nice fish, trust me. He said that when he hooked it on a live pogey. They had, what they were trying to do is they had corks, but they realized that the fish was holding a little bit deeper. So he hooked a live pogey toward the tail so that it would try to run, you know, obviously away from the hook. And it ran deep, and then he felt it when it grabbed it. And he said it spent more time out of the water than it spent in the water, which, good Lord, that's so much fun. I can't explain to you how much fun that is. It's kind of, imagine a 15-pound bass, you know, and jumping and doing all the things that it does, just goes crazy. Anyway, it is fun to just stack up the memories, man. I mean, when you're out in the outdoors, and again, coming back to your podcast, one of the cool things about what it evolved into was a really sort of comfortable telling of your experiences. And you've been really fortunate because, we told your stories before. You had these aspirations to be part of the Primos team, started as camera guys, still work as camera guys, but you're in front of the camera as well. But, being associated with Will and the team has really afforded you some experiences that have literally changed your life, hasn't it, Lake?
Without a doubt. I don't think I could ever come. Well, I would never be on this show talking to you if it weren't for Primos, but that could be said about any of these opportunities that I get if it wasn't for that brand, that company, Wilbur, Jimmy, Brad, those guys. Those guys have done so much for me, Jordan, and a lot of people. So yeah, I owe them a lot, and I'm very thankful for them.
Well, Will and I have really become good friends as a result of our involvement in that Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund together. And we communicate pretty regularly. But man, he is so down to earth and so focused. And I mean, he's driven by his faith. He's driven by his loyalty to his friends. He loves Mississippi. He is so committed to conservation. There's no, Will is kind of one of a kind, isn't he, Jordan?
Man, he definitely is the most focused person I've ever been around. And man, just 100% about it. He's a big reason that I've ever decided to chase any aspirations. Cause at one point, if I could ever get to Primos and work there, I'd be satisfied my entire life. Right. And just being around Will and the way he operates and learning what a successful person does, he never quits chasing that next thing. He's never satisfied. He's always wanting to perfect the next obstacle that's coming about, or chase this next thing that's on his mind. And that just being around people like that, it rubs off. I mean, it 100% rubs off on you to be a better person.
Well, you look at Jimmy, look at Brad, look at the other guys who've come through the Primos team, and it seems to be, I think, a real good telling of a man's commitment has been his ability to help people get what they want out of life. And that, I think Zig Ziglar once said that if you'll help people get what they want out of life, you'll get what you want out of life. And I think that's really worked well for him. He reads a lot, as you well know. Mm-hmm. He reads, he's just driven. I say on my show, Coach You, a lot, this strong belief that I have, and as a publisher, I really live this, but it is that the more we learn, the more we better learn how much we don't know, that life's a journey of discovery and learning. And once you sort of get into that mode, then new career goals, you can't help but have them roll out. What Will helped you do, what he helped you both do, is realize you were capable of doing more than you ever realized. Than you ever realized you were able to accomplish. That's what a good mentor does. A mentor helps you unlock potential within you, and then who knows where you will go. So let's kind of shift gears a little bit. That's exactly what he did. So, Lake, what's the latest in your world?
So I, very recently, the best way to articulate this, I'm no longer a full-time Primos employee. Now, I'll caveat that very quickly with I'll still be doing some things with Primos. Don't plan on cutting any ties there. I just, kind of like you said, I was afforded, an opportunity with a company called Onyx Hunt. If anyone's familiar, like the hunting app, they approached me a while back, and it was immediately, caught my attention because I've used Onyx since 2017 or 2018, really enjoyed it. And it was, I'll make no bones about it, it was a very, very difficult decision because I still do have a deep emotional attachment to Primos. But going back to Will and what we were just saying about him. So, I had this opportunity laid out in front of me. They had, I guess made the offer, so to speak. And I called Will and I said, hey, I need to talk to you about something. Can I come to your house? And he was like, yeah, for sure. So I drive to Will's house, sit down with him and explain to him what I have going on. And this just tells you the kind of guy he is. This is if you want a blueprint for the kind of people you want in your life, this is like Will's that kind of person. So I sit down with Will and I tell him what I have going on. So I have this offer from Onyx. Will never even entertained me not accepting that offer. He basically said, Lake, this is way too good of an opportunity for you. You have to take this. Like you absolutely have to. And to be honest, like when I first took the job, I didn't know if there was going to be room for me to still do things with Primos. Thankfully there is, so I'm not, like I said, I'm not just having to go, okay, bye. Like I'll still be doing things with Primos, but I'm with Onyx now, have been for about a month and a half, maybe 2 months, but it's very new, very fun. I'm enjoying it. And that's kind of what's going on with me right now.
So, hey, real quick before we move over to Jordan to see the latest in his world, what's your role at Onyx?
So It's still in the like marketing, like I was doing at Primo's. A lot of social media management, content creation, working with their ambassadors and all media related marketing stuff. The world I kind of have already known and grown to like.
Yeah. I mean, you've been opened up to all the possibilities, and you'd be crazy not to explore them because you've gotten good at it. Yeah. So, Jordan, let's move over to you. What's the latest in your world?
Man, it's similar to Lake. We talked about me losing weight and stuff, and that opened up an opportunity to help a lot of other people. And before I knew it, it grew to a situation where I kind of had to make a decision whether I wanted to, make this a full-time career or stick around at Primo's. And I was the same way as Lake. I went to Wilbur about it, and he was like, hey, you've got a lot of potential over here, so go after that. And also got my real estate license, I guess, about a year and a half ago, and I work for a company here in Raymond, Mississippi called Open Season Properties. So I'm doing health coaching, and I'm working at the properties thing, and also still at Primo's, as a part-timer. That was no bad blood at all there. I owe a lot to Primo's and still enjoy doing what we do, and just like this turkey season, I was just fortunate enough to go on several trips with the guys and still doing the same thing we've been doing. But the only difference is it's just not full-time there anymore, but we're still part of the team and plan on being there for a long time, for similar situation as, Brad has. He's doing real estate and doing Primo's, and want to keep trying to grow everything. The Primo's brand means a lot to me, and I owe it a lot, and I still enjoy doing what I do. And at the same time, these other opportunities came up, and there's been a blessing in my life, no doubt.
Well, as I learned, just to sort of substantiate what you just said, in the conversation I had Jimmy Primos and Brad Ferris on in the early days of SuperTalk Outdoors, and Brad talked about the relationship he had with Primos and how important his real estate business was to him, et cetera. But as someone who viewed the show, if you didn't know that detail, you wouldn't even know that. You wouldn't, because Brad was such a omnipresent part of the Primos hunting team still, and so passionate to it. So what he's discovered, and what you guys will discover too, you can have both worlds if you're loyal to each world, and frankly, to be honest with you, one world will help the other. They can peacefully coexist in ways that actually create some synergy that's very positive. Certainly that's true for you, Jordan, and as it relates to OnX, that's definitely true for you, Lake.
For sure. It worked out because OnX is actually like partners with Primo's on, some sponsorship things. They sponsored the podcast. So it just kind of, it wasn't a hard transition at all.
Yeah. Well, what we're observing is this, two young men growing and realizing their potential. Who knows where this will go? You may be the next Primos before it's over, developing your own hunting line. Who knows? When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Lake Pickle and Jordan Blissett. We'll see you after this break.
We live in one of the best places in America to enjoy the outdoors. So let's talk about it. It's Super Talk Outdoors with Ricky Matthews on Super Talk Mississippi.
Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. When I was talking with Lake Pickle and Jordan Blissett about this triple tail that my son Jordan caught yesterday, I remembered that behind me here on one of these rods is a fly that Chris Gertz gave to me. Chris Gertz, who is on the executive committee for the foundation and a longtime friend of mine. His father, Chris Gertz Sr., who unfortunately passed away in the last couple of years, made this, and it's just such a unique fly. And he's tagged more triple tail than any other human being in the Gulf of Mexico. That's one of his many claims to fame. But man, I cherish this fly that I have, and that's one of the reasons why I have it here behind me, just as one of a memorial to his father, who made such a great impact on the fishery. Hey, coming back to Lake and Jordan. Lake, I'm following you on social media, man. You bought a house. You got yourself a future bride. You're going to break a lot of hearts soon, aren't you, buddy?
My mom's maybe. But yeah, no, with the wedding's coming up in like 2 weeks, actually. And this is one of the parts I'm most excited about this wedding. So it's a small ceremony, and my brother's girlfriend, I don't know if you can tell what that bow tie is made out of.
Is it, let's see, is that turkey feathers?
Turkey feathers, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and I got the blessing from my fiance that we could, so myself, like it's a small ceremony because we kind of put it together quickly, and so the wedding party, so to speak, on my end is just my brother and Jordan. So we'll be up there in our little turkey feather bow ties. But yeah, that's coming up quick.
That's so cool. Listen, man, when I met my wife Ann, now 35 years ago, I used to joke to my friends, I'm gonna get married before I turn 30. I got married 2 weeks before I turned 30. And I would joke to my friends that when I can find a woman who can put a cigar minute on a sea witch when we're trolling for king mackerel, I'm gonna marry her. And sure enough, Ann could do that. So she still loves the outdoors. So it doesn't surprise you that all of our kids love the outdoors. But your wife had to accept the reality of who you were. So that bow tie was an easy thing for her to accept because she knows you, doesn't she?
Well, that, and it's funny you bring up the cigar minnow thing. The first time that she ever went turkey hunting with me, and the first time she had ever gone turkey hunting, we killed a turkey. And I was just like, oh, a sign from above.
That's so cool. And, Jordan, while we're on the subject, man, I watch you with your family and your daughter. I mean, you're a good man. And you defined, as I have, success in life is having your family happy. That's true about you, isn't it?
Man, I've changed so much since I had Bren, like far as just my mentality on life. And it's pretty crazy, like how that change can be such a positive impact. Like now, I'm sure you can relate to this. Like everything I do is based on her future. Like every decision I make, I think, how is Bren going to be impacted from this? And man, just like we're going back to, doing what we're all doing now, and it's such a huge blessing that I didn't realize that would happen, is having the extra time freedom to spend with her and my wife. Like I'm honestly happier now than ever been for us just getting to be at home and sit on the couch with them. It's just something I didn't think I would necessarily. I knew I would enjoy it, but I didn't know how much I would love that.
Well, that's one of the things that's so important about your public life. People will experience through your experiences the trials and tribulations of life, growing up, starting out as young guys that were really aspiring to be on the Primos team and as camera guys, and then getting in front of the camera and going on to do cool things with your lives. Now, Lake, you're getting married, and soon you'll have children, and you may have more than Bren before it's over with, Jordan. But the reality is, people want to experience what you're experiencing. They want to know more about your lives. And, with that comes a burden. I've known this because I've been in public life for most of my adult life, certainly the last 20 years, that people, if you don't live by example, then you can become a quick target. That's just kind of part of the deal. But there's a burden that comes with public life, and if you have a faith in God and you have your values centered, which you had the opportunity to, you're good people coming onto the Primos team, but we'll help sort of solidify that part of you. That gives you the opportunity to be role models. I mean, did you ever think, like, that in your wildest imagination that one day you'd be a role model?
No. Short answer, no, I did not. But it's been, and I would be lying if I said I've always handled it perfectly. It was a learning curve for sure. But on one hand, it's so encouraging, and it was always helpful to have guys like Will and Brad that obviously the spotlight on them is much larger, and just watch how they've handled it. But even to the degree of like I haven't, like the transition to OnX, it's just been, I don't know, dealing with that, and it's having folks that look up to you. It kind of holds you accountable too.
Yeah, that is for sure. And listen, we're out of time, but Jordan Blissett and Lake Pickle, it's going to be fun to stay in touch with you. We'll get together regularly here on this show just to share war stories. But you guys are good guys, and you are role models, and I look forward to watching where God takes you. So it's been a pleasure to visit with you today.
Thank you.
You bet. Hey, as I always end the show, stay safe in the outdoors. Have a great day.